Everybody, and welcome to Vicky Pattison, The Secret To. This week, I am joined by none other than psychologist, author, and star of Married at First Sight. It's Mel Schilling, everybody. Woo!
Hello, Vicky. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Oh, mate, the pleasure is all mine. Hearing your accent is absolutely lush.
No, I feel the same about yours. I love yours. I could listen to you talk all day.
Really?
Love it.
Because I feel like, can you understand us all right? Because it's quite strong.
No, I have trouble.
At least you're honest.
Yeah, no, I do. I've got to say, we had a girl on our last season of the UK one, Nikita. Was she from a similar place to you?
So, mate, I literally was one of the questions I was going to ask you. I started watching that because everyone was like, oh my God, there's a girl from the Northeast. She's kicking off all the time. You need to start watching it. She's brilliant TV. So I was like, shit. So I think Nikita might be from, and I'm not sensitive about this, but she's from the other side of the water. So she's from Sunderland way. So more like where Sophie was from Geordie Shore. Or maybe Charlotte. I don't know, but yeah, she's. Do you know what? It's much of a muchness. If you're from anywhere else in the country,
sounds similar to me.
Definitely has that distinctive Northeast twang.
Yes. I love it. It's been taking me a while, but I'm starting to be able to pick where different accents come from within the UK. So it's a steep learning curve, I tell you.
Oh, I'm not surprised, mate. Yeah, we have very for the ear of someone from like the UK, the different twangs are so distinctive and it's very obvious.
Right.
But honestly, for anyone else, I think it's a really difficult game to play. Do you have I must sound really ignorant here, so forgive us. But do you have the same thing in Australia? Are there different accents?
Not like you. There are, but it's very, very subtle. So I think probably a Brit probably couldn't pick the difference. It's really, really subtle, and most people would not notice the difference. I think there's probably a sort of soft Aussie accent, or there's a broad Aussie accent. And I sit on that continuum, that whole continuum, depending on who I'm talking with. It's funny. I just left a voice message just now for Charlene, my colleague from Married at First Sight UK. And I just left her a voice message. And I'm in Sydney at the moment. And she just came back to me and she said, oh, Mel, your English accent has completely gone. You sounded like the strongest Aussie. I could barely
like a bogan.
You've just been Aussified. A total bogan, full-blown Aussie bogan. And I've only been back here a week. So imagine me after I've been here a couple of weeks. Oh my God.
Mel, I'm the same though. So I live down south now just outside London in Essex with me fella and me dog.
Right.
And whenever I go back up home, like for a birthday or Christmas or to see me family, whatever, I come back and Erkan's like, fucking hell. Like you can't understand us at all. Yeah. And it's dead easy to do when you're around people, but I do have to soften mine for being down here, I think. So do you soften yours for being in the UK?
I do, and not consciously. I don't realize I'm doing it, but it just subtly changes, and I start saying things like, to be fair. That's to be fair. I say that, and my daughter, she's 7, she started saying, to be fair, mum, blah 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 blah. Where did that come from? We don't say that.
Do you don't have that enough? I'm so fascinated by your little family dynamic. So you have married a fella from Northern Ireland, is that right?
Yes, that's right. Well, from Whitehead.
That's a strong accent, lass, isn't it?
Yes. Oh yes. Yes. And we met online, Vicky. So for the first 6 weeks, we didn't meet in person. And so it was all texting. And I tried to have one conversation with the guy, couldn't understand a word that came out of his mouth. I had to hang up. I could not understand what he was saying. Not good for the romance.
No. But so obviously, right, Erkan's from down here. And I'm from up north, and the argument we have predominantly, and we have it a lot considering it's currently a fictional thing we're arguing about, but it's how, like, which accent our kids are going to have. And he wants them to sound like they're from London, like him. And I desperately want them to sound like they're from Newcastle, like me. So where does your little girl sound like she's from currently?
Interesting. She's had a really eclectic upbringing so far, because we all lived in Bali for 2.5 years, where she went to an international school. Yeah.
Right,
and she was surrounded by people from all over the world. Her teachers had all different accents, but certainly the Balinese people she came in contact with who learnt English often learnt it with an American accent. A lot of her little mates have American accents, but she doesn't. I would say she has an Aussie accent with a British kind of theme. You know, there are certain words.
The British
she doesn't sound Northern Irish. A British influence. There isn't the Northern Irish in there. I mean, we tease Gareth because, of course, he has the strong R.
Yeah.
So, and we don't. Aussies, we say art and fart. He says art.
Nice examples.
Yeah, great. Well, as you can imagine, with a 7-year-old, we talk a lot about the fart. And Gareth thinks we sound really posh when we say fart. He says, "Oh, you're going to fart, are you girls? You're having a fart." He says fart.
I used to do loads of PAs, like club appearances, when I was obviously younger. God, I probably would be no good now, like one glass of Chardonnay. But yeah, so I used to do loads of them, and we did a lot of them in Northern Ireland. Like the show, obviously Geordie Shore was huge over there, and I remember I adored the promoters' accents, and everyone I spoke to. And this one thing, he was like, "Oh, Vicky, it's been a disaster." Like that was it is stuck in my mind. So is that the same accent that Gareth has? Yes. Okay.
Yes. Did they ever say, "Oh, when I was scundered"? Does
that mean mortal? Does that mean drunk?
No. Embarrassed.
No.
I was so embarrassed. I was scundered. Yeah.
No, I've not heard that one.
I'd say scundered.
I would say scundad, which is awful.
Scundad.
Well, there's a whole massive accents going on here, but I do think they're all gorgeous.
Yeah.
I absolutely love, I mean, obviously I'm dying to talk to you all about Married at First Sight, the brand new series, how you found the difference between the UK and the Australian one. But I'm going to stick on Gareth for a bit, mate, because we're on it, so why not?
Stick on him. Stick all over him.
First of all, I just wanted to say, like, fucking good for you, mate. Like, I feel like your story and your romance with him is not only beautiful, but super inspirational.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. How is it inspirational? I get that it's gorgeous, but how is it inspirational?
So for me, like, I hope I'm not sound like, for me, dynamics of like finding love up north, I've always found to be slightly different to finding the relationship dynamics down south. So I found myself a couple years ago, 31 and single, which in London is nothing. Like in London is absolutely normal. You've got women looking for pursuing careers. You've got women like smashing their jobs. Up north, there is a lot more emphasis, I find, on finding a partner when you're younger, settling down, having kids, and having this like family dynamic. So when I was 31 and single up north, like I honestly believed there was something wrong with us, you know? And like, then I moved down south and realized, hey, there's so many women like doing it for themselves and sort of pursuing their careers and finding love later. But yeah, the reason I find you like really inspirational and powerful is because that is in some way conditioned in me that you should have like, you know, found your happily ever after in your 20s or whatever. And it took me a long time to realize that that's not the only way to do it, and like happiness comes in different parts in your life and different times. So yeah, that's why. Well,
I was single for my entire 30s, you know, so for me that was all I knew, you know, and relationships were just not on my radar at all. It was all about career and travel and performing, and I had no interest in guys. My friends used to say that I had F off written across my forehead if any guy came near me. I was like, whoa, resting bitch face.
Bless you. So hang on, you're saying relationships weren't really on your radar. Have you not always been a relationship expert then?
Well, I was a psychologist for 20 years. That's where I started and did loads of work in corporate. So working with a lot of leadership teams and, you know, women in business, and that was sort of my focus. And I just found that so often I'd have these in-depth coaching conversations with women in their workplace, and inevitably they'd want to talk about their relationships, or if they were single, they'd want to talk about dating, or the fact that they really yearned for love and had put all their energy into their work life and not their love life. So it just naturally evolved that we would have these conversations about love and attraction and sex and sexuality, and that just happened very, very naturally. So I became really interested in it and ended up retraining and becoming accredited as a dating coach. So that was kind of where my career just naturally took me. And then I found it was this weird parallel between my personal life and like the advice I was giving my clients. I had to kind of put my big girl pants on and take my own advice.
Oh, but that's really hard to do, isn't it?
It's so hard.
I can't tell you how many times I've sat there with my mates telling them, you know, he's not respecting you. You need to lay some ground rules, or you need to do this, or you deserve more. And then like I go home and sit there. Obviously not now, I've got a lovely fella. But yeah, I used to go home and sit there and think you should fucking take some of your own advice, quite frankly. You hypocrite.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard.
So hard. But then, so you were giving all of this advice, you'd organically found a new focus for your career. Did it make you sort of think then like, oh, I'm actually more open to the idea of settling down? Did it broaden your horizons? What happened to make you sort of feel like you want to settle down?
Eventually it did.
Yeah.
Eventually it did, but not until my very late 30s, you know, and that wasn't my biological clock ticking at all. I didn't even think motherhood was on the horizon for me. You know, I used to say to my friends, this is just me, I'm single and fabulous and I don't want to be a mum, and you know, my life's all about travel, and you know, I was just trying to convince myself. And my friends would go, oh yeah, we'll just sit back and watch, we'll see what happens.
That knowing smile. Yeah, that knowing smile to give you.
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly what they did.
But then I think I feel like you met your husband in 2018, was it? Hello.
No, we met 2011.
2011. Oh shit. 2011.
Yeah.
So you've been together what, 11 years now?
Yes.
Congratulations, babe.
Yeah, we have. We've been married but we've been together for such a long time. And, you know, soon after we got together, like at that point, we were both turning 40. So we kind of met, you know, at 39, and then instantly we were 40. And it was like, wow, okay, we're serious about this. What shall we do? I know, let's go off the pill. So I went off the pill, and within about
it's like a good Friday night,
I was pregnant. Oh my God, couldn't believe I'd been on the pill for 20 years. Went off it, boom, pregnant. And was not ready. It was a rude shock. I'd been with this guy 10 minutes in my mind, you know, I was still very much in single, selfish mode, super single kind of mode. And it was a big enough deal accommodating this new man in my world. And we moved in together, and there was so much change happening. And then all of a sudden, my body was changing, and I was not ready. I really wasn't. I think I was in denial for a big chunk of that time. And I just got to about 11 and a half weeks and started thinking, oh, maybe this is what I want. Maybe I'm going to embrace this. And I remember I said to Gareth, okay, I'm ready to go and buy something for this little baby, you know, to accept that it's real.
Yeah.
To finally accept that it's real. And I had a miscarriage.
Oh my God.
And it was really hard.
So sorry.
Yeah. It was an incredible experience, because I realized that I'd gotten to the point where I finally wanted it, and then it was gone. So it just really consolidated for both of us how much we wanted to be parents and we wanted to do this together. And by this point, we were 40. Yeah. And so it wasn't that easy. It was probably a fluke that I got pregnant so quickly, you know, because at that age, what I started to learn, because we started to have fertility treatment and try, you know, a whole range of different techniques. And what the doctors were saying to me at that point, as I was sort of getting into the 41 year, the 41st year of my life, was they were saying probably only 1 in 5 eggs good egg. So, you know, it's kind of hit or miss. It's like Russian, you know, every time you try to conceive naturally. And we tried for a year. And I'm going to tell you, conception sex is not sexy sex, right?
No, I have heard like ovulation schedules and stuff take all of the romance out of it.
It's a job. Yeah. You project manage the shit out of it, right? It's a job.
I don't know why, but I just imagined you with a little hard hat and high vis on there, Mel. Little clipboard.
You know what? We started calling our bed the workbench. Get on the workbench. Okay, let's do the job.
Do you know what though? Some people might be into all that mess.
Well, yeah, it could. I mean, some people probably love it, but for me, it was just like, it's like a job. So look, it was a year of that, and it didn't work. So we ended up going down the IVF road, and that was really good. That worked for us. One cycle, and boom. Now we've got Maddie.
Oh, well, I am honestly so over the moon for you. I've got a couple of friends of my own at the moment. I've started my own fertility journey just this year. We're going to freeze embryos. That's what we're going to do.
Wonderful, and so much more successful than just your eggs. So that is wonderful. Good for you.
I had no idea, you know, like it was Vogue Williams. She was a guest on the podcast, and she said she'd looked into it. Oh God, yes, Vogue. She sort of said, you want to freeze, what you want to do is freeze embryos. So that got me thinking, and we've obviously getting through that journey now.
Wonderful.
I've recently started talking about it, and it's only because of that so many people have started messaging me on Instagram, and the sort of the dialogue's being started. I'm actually I think probably because it's never really been on my radar before, like you say, you know, I think I had a lot of similar thought processes about having kids. I was too career focused. I was doing this, I was doing that. But I was really shocked at how many people actually go through IVF. It's so common.
Yes.
So common.
It is, and it's hard. It's so important that your relationship is strong, you know, before, if you're in a relationship. Many people, of course, do it on their own, but, you know, it made me realize just how important that bond and that teamwork, you know, really is, because as the woman, you go through such a tough time. Physically, emotionally, you know, on every level, psychologically, it is such a strain.
Now, I'm like just having PMS at the moment, right? And honestly, I took myself to bed last night at say about 8 o'clock because I was like looking at Ercan, and I was literally looking at him thinking, you're an arsehole. And I know he's not an arsehole.
I'm going to kill you. Yeah.
And I was literally like, I know you're something inside of us was like, I know you're not an arsehole. I know you're a lovely man. But this red devil that is like wanting to course through my veins is telling me you're an arsehole. So I'm going to go to bed before I can treat you like an arsehole.
Good. Yeah. Good move. Good strategy there, Vic. Let me tell you, once you get on the IVF hormones, expect that to be 10 times stronger.
This is what I was going to ask. So am I in for like a fucking, oh God.
And so is he.
That's what I was about to say. Poor fucking Ercan. Oh God.
Yes, the poor thing. But do you know what I think the hardest part, and for you to prepare yourself for it? Yes, the moods are, you know, up and down, and that's tough. But I think the hardest part and the cruelest part of going through fertility treatment is when you're going through it. So when you're injecting yourself and, you know, getting all of those extra hormones on board, it's like your body tricks you into feeling like you're pregnant. And, you know, you can be bloated. I remember I looked down and I was as bloated as though I was 6 months pregnant. And everything in my body, it was like it was mimicking pregnancy. And so when you go through that and then get to the end of the cycle, well, I want you to feel prepared for it, Vic.
Yeah, no, this
because
is important.
once you go through that, it is. It's really good for you to know, because you've got to be able to say to yourself, no, this is not real. I'm not pregnant yet. this is just the hormones, this is just the process. Because, you know, the chances are that, you know, your first cycle might not be a successful one. Most people's aren't. It's very, very rare, from what I understand, to fall pregnant the first time. So you've just got to be able to do that mind over matter and say, no, I'm not pregnant. This is my body mimicking pregnancy, and I'm on the journey. I'm not pregnant yet.
It's like, I feel like it's, obviously I know how hard it is being a woman. Like I do feel like I love being a girl, and I love all of my feminine qualities, but God, we do get that like raw end of the deal sometimes, don't we?
Yeah, it's hard, but so much of that is what makes us the strong, resilient, incredible super women that we are. Yes. And I love that.
Oh, I wouldn't want to be a stinky boy, I don't think.
No.
Oh, no. I wouldn't know what to do with a willy for starters. I'd have no clue. I think I'd feel very uncomfortable with that.
No clue either. Like, I grew up in a family full of women. Every dog we ever had was a woman, and we've just got, in my new family, we've just got our first puppy, and it's a boy, and he's got this lipstick, and I don't know what to do with it. Every time it comes out, I freak out. It's like a little red thing. What if I accidentally touch it? Oh,
we've got a boy dog as well, Milo.
Oh no.
And whenever like, obviously he has a willy too, and I call it his nunny, which is like obviously so emasculating for him. Erkan goes mad. I'm like, oh, is that your nunny? He's like, it's not his nunny. I'm like, oh God, calm down. Someone's got some insecurities.
Yes, he's all protective.
Yeah.
Of his bits.
Don't call it that.
So funny.
Mel, it's been such a pleasure talking to you in part one. I'm gonna have you back in part two to talk all MAFS goss. Is that okay?
Let's do that.
Yes. Hello everybody, and welcome back to part two of Vicky, Pattison and the Secret 2. So I'm joined by Mel Schilling, who you will probably know from Married at First Sight. But if you don't follow her on Instagram, you absolutely should. I've just started recently, and I'm going to warn you in advance. She's this incredibly special mix of, like, you want to be our best friend, but also she's incredibly intimidating. Mel, I've just looked at your Instagram, and I'm like, I whispered to my producer before you came back on. I went, her Instagram's so powerful. It gives me anxiety. Like, you're so impressive.
Honey.
You're impressive,
honey.
Mel. No, you are. You're impressive.
Wow. I don't know how to take that. I don't want to give you anxiety. I want to do the opposite of that.
No, you're
how can I make you more comfortable?
Well, speaking to you and realizing you're absolutely lovely has definitely helped. But I just find you so impressive. I'm a little bit nervous.
Oh, that is gorgeous. Thank you. And I'm a bit worried.
No, do you not get that a lot, Mel? Because I feel like, because I position myself as like quite a strong woman, you know, when I meet other really strong, sassy women, I'm like, oh God, I love you. But yours is like next level impressive. So yeah, I've got a bit of nerves as well.
Do you know what that tells me? Thank you for that feedback. Do you know what that tells me? Yeah. I need to show more of my fun, lighthearted self on Instagram, because if I'm only showing the hardcore, you know, success stuff, then I might not be as relatable to some people, because this is a big part of who I am too, just being me.
Oh, well, honestly, don't take anything I've said as a criticism. It's all meant as hardcore compliments.
No, I don't.
I would love to see more of your home life, some of your gorgeous little girl, more of Gareth and his hard R's. Give me it all. I'm so nosy.
His hard R's. Do you know what's tricky right now? I'm away from them for 3 months. So it's really hard.
So are you filming in Australia now, or you'd working? Is that why you're away from them?
Oh, yes. So I literally finished filming MAFS UK, flew to Australia the next day and started filming here. So it's all go.
Oh man, do you find it do you find it easier to concentrate on what I imagine is quite an intense filming schedule when Gareth and Matty aren't there, or do you miss them loads? Do they provide you a sense of like respite and calm?
I need them. I really do. I need them to feel grounded. Yeah. It's hard. This is the 3rd year in a row that I've had to be away from them, even though we were all living in Australia the last 2 years. we were living in Melbourne and we film in Sydney. And because of COVID, the borders were closed and I couldn't go back. So, I suppose the upside is we have had 3 times, to sort of get used to this being apart, but it doesn't get any easier. It's hard. I need to stay really busy. Yeah.
I can imagine that. Honestly, bless you. That must be so hard. But you would trust Gareth. He's a good daddy. He's got it covered. He's holding down the fort for you.
He's a great daddy. He's about to take Mads on a road trip, and they're going up north, and they're going to the Lakes District, and they're going to water parks, and they're going to Scotland. So they'll have a great time.
So that's more like my neck of the woods. She'll have a lovely time.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can count on the weather. Yeah. It'll probably be shite.
I know. Yeah.
Just trying to manage their expectations
Sydney right now.
So mad because whenever I think of Australia, in particular Sydney, like whenever I've gone, I'm always just sweating my tits off. But I've got a couple of mates from there, and obviously it's their winter now, and they're saying, it's pretty miserable.
It is. Record floods. You'd be right at home, babe.
Brilliant. So obviously MAFS UK is fresh in your mind and you're about to start on Married at First Sight Australia. Are there any obvious differences for you between your people in the UK and your people in Australia? Do you have to readjust or realign your mindset to film with the different countries, or is it very similar? Love's just love.
Do you know what? When I first started filming the UK one, I went into it with all these preconceived ideas, and I think I expected people from the UK to be more reserved.
Yeah, that is
it's a stereotype.
It is,
the stiff upper lip and to not be that open talking about things like intimacy and sex and relationships. But I've got to say that was not a problem at all. In fact, we can't shut them up. They are just as candid as the Aussies.
Love that.
And just as vulnerable and prepared to, put their heart on the line and open up and be really real with us. So I could almost say that if you took the accents out of the mix and just had, these 2 groups of people and showed them simultaneously, you could barely tell the difference. It's really similar because, like you said, love is love.
Yeah. And I think if you're willing to sort of open up and put yourself on this platform to find, true love, someone you're going to marry, a life partner, then you're of a similar mindset regardless of where you're from, right? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I obviously, before we started this pod, had a little stalk of your Instagram, just a little prelim, and I saw that you were promoting the new series of MAFS UK, and I noticed that there's a couple of comments from people saying, oh God, it's gone very Love Island, everybody's young, everybody's after some sort of clothing deal or whatever, and you were very diplomatic in your response. I thought, bless her, she's not daft. But I wanted to ask, because obviously you can't ignore the fact that Love Island is this huge reality TV juggernaut, and I do sometimes feel like other networks are chasing their tail trying to find their version of Love Island, and no one could blame them for that. It's fucking so successful. But what I wanted to know is, do you genuinely believe the people who are still coming on MAFS UK, MAFS Australia for that matter, are honestly looking for love, or do you think there's an element of that where they think I could get something else out of this?
Look, the first thing I would say is in Australia, it's the other way around. So it's MAFS that all the other shows are trying to emulate. So a Love Island or something else.
Okay.
Yeah, we're the OG here. That's right. Look, I think there's some key differences between the 2 shows, and therefore the demographics, the people that are attracted to them. Love Island, of course, is very much focused on that physical attraction and the way people look. Whereas with MAFS, we go so much deeper than that. Yes, the looks are part of it because, that's what attracts people to watch a TV show. At the end of the day, it's still a TV show. But what we have are people who are genuinely looking for love. Now, that doesn't mean that at the same time they might not be looking for an Instagram following or, brand collaborations.
You can want more than one thing.
2 things can exist at the same time. Exactly. That's exactly right. But I really do believe that we do a pretty good job on this show, both in the UK and in Oz, of screening out the people who are just there for commercial reasons. And we really get to the heart of those people who've tried everything, maybe had their heart broken, maybe they've been married, maybe they've had kids. We're getting better at bringing in people who have lots of colour in their life. So we've got all these different layers now. So much more fascinating, I think.
Like I always say, if I was at a dinner party, like I don't want to be sitting next to someone who's never had a grazed knee, who's never had a bad chapter, who's not got a story. Like, I want to be sitting next to someone who's been places, done things, made mistakes. Like, I think, and it's the same for when I'm watching TV. Like, if I find out, someone's had a failed relationship or got a couple kids, or had a period of their life that was difficult, I love that, and I think it makes them. And I don't want to say watchable, because I think it's not, it goes deeper than that. I feel like they're interesting.
Yes. And one of the things I love about our show, and what a lot of people say to us about it, is they can see themselves playing out on screen. So they'll sit at home on the couch with their partner or with their family or with their mates and look at it and go, oh my God, I make that mistake, or I do that in my relationship. And that's why it's so important that we get the diversity, in the mix with our couples. And we're absolutely spot on with the latest series in the UK with the most beautiful diversity. I heard one of the contributors say to the group, we're like the United Colours of MAFS. And I love that. I love that. I think we can do more of that globally. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Well, and again, I'm bringing up Love Island, but I feel like, that's always the criticism for shows that exist currently, is that there's not enough diversity, whether it be like body shapes, whether it be like skin colors, ethnicities, whatever it is. And I think we do need more progression like that on TV. So you think you're smashing it?
Oh yeah, I can't wait for you to meet the current crop couples. We've got all the shapes and sizes and colors and ages. It's divine. I love it. I celebrate it.
Love that. And I also read you've got 2 same-sex couples in this series as well.
We have one male set and one female set, which is divine, and within those groups as well, we've got different political views, we've got different that's experience in the world.
That's a bit prickly, isn't it?
Conversation. It does get prickly. It absolutely does. And, we haven't really had that depth of interest and different perspectives before. So it gets really spicy.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, no disrespect to Love Island, because I'm a huge fan as well, but I've never seen them debate like the Labour versus Tory sort of argument. So you're definitely bringing something. Yeah. Oh God, absolutely.
Yeah.
Can you give us, and I know you're probably going to say no, but can you give us any gossip about the new series?
What can I tell you? I mean, we've spoken a lot to the media so far, and I've got to say there have been a lot of leaks that have happened as well.
I hate that.
So there's a lot of the really interesting points have leaked out. So, for example, people already know that we have, as you said, 2 same-sex couples, that we have intruder couples that come in halfway through the series, which is a real shake-up. Yes. And we've done that in Oz before, and it is such a shake up, because we've got these couples that get to this point where they're really comfortable and settled, and they have this sense of security, and then boom, these 2 new couples come in and shake it right up.
But then you need that, because that's everyday life, isn't it? If you went through life just with you and your partner, with no outside stimulus, no temptation, no whatever, you could get on quite easily. But if you add social media temptation into the mix, if you add fit fellas at work, there's all these different elements, it's going to be testing. And I love that you're bringing that in. Oh, I'm so fired up for this new series.
Yeah. And we take them away. So they go away on a couples retreat, a couples weekend, a mini break. Yeah. And, you don't get to know anyone until you go away with them, right? Yeah, so we throw them into that mix, and yes, things definitely go up a notch or 2 on that weekend as well.
Everyone always says if you can, it's always perfect on holiday and blah, blah, blah. I think it's the opposite. Like when me and her can go away, like you've got smaller living space, all of my stuff's everywhere. I think it's quite testing.
Yeah, I think so too. Yep.
Right. Mel, when I announced that you were coming on the pod, we had some I was like, oh, has anyone got any relationship questions to me followers on Instagram? But we had so many MAFS questions as well. So are you willing to answer a couple from me followers, but also some relationship questions too? Amazing.
Absolutely.
Mate, I've just forgot. If you're in Australia, what time is it?
It's 9 p.m.
Oh, babe, I'm so sorry. This is like wind down time for you.
It's all right. I'll have a wine when I get off the phone. Get off the call with you.
Good lass. I would have done earlier. I'm so sorry. Okay, let's get these questions asked. Right.
Okay.
Number one. Have you had a favorite couple ever from MAFS? English or UK or Australian?
Oh my goodness. I'd say I have a favorite couple in the UK and in Australia.
You can have two. Go on.
One in each. Okay. My favorite in the UK would have to be Dan and Matt.
I knew
I love them. Did you guess that?
Yeah, I knew. They're one of my...
Not only are they the first same-sex couple here in the UK, but and not only is Daniel, of course, from Northern Ireland, where my beautiful man is from as well, so I've got a bit of bias there, but they are just, from the very moment they clasped eyes on each other, the chemistry was there and it just steadily built. What a joy to watch. That is what our experiment is all about.
And it was lovely as well, because I was talking to my producer and I was like, they always just brought me a sense of calm. Like in the UK one, there was a lot of ups and downs for people, and there was a lot of like, there was some drama, there was some like hurdles people had to overcome, but those two were just constant and steady, and like they made me happy when I watched them. So I'm so with you on that, mate. So with you.
Yeah.
And then go on, what about Australia?
All right, I'm a little bit biased here as well, because we have probably our most successful couple is Jules and Cam,
of course,
who have now, as you would know, gone on to be married, and they've had little baby Ollie, and who is just gorgeous. He's just like a miniature Cameron. It is the most cutest thing. And they're a wonderful couple, and I think they're a really good example for what this experiment can achieve. Yeah. And they're friends of mine, so that counts too.
Bias. But do you feel it must be such a lovely feeling, mate? Like you must almost feel like sort of a bit of a fairy godmother when like things work out like this, so lovely.
I do sometimes. Here's my wand. I wave my little wand. Not that it's all about just couples lasting, because that's only one way to measure success. I think there's so many people who come through this process who don't end up with their partner, who have a really positive experience too. So I love that as well.
Well, I honestly feel like it must be so heartwarming to see it all work out and feel like I played a part in that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Love it.
Next question. We'll move on to some relationship bits, because obviously people are very keen to use your expertise here. I think
fire away.
So this one made me giggle. Bathroom habits. Seriously. To poo in front of a spouse, or do you always keep that separate? They want to know.
I'm going to say, keep the bloody door closed.
Yeah.
Please.
I think
you've got to have a little bit of mystery in your relationship.
You've got to, surely. I think me and Erkan we're definitely the most honest and open and like the closest relationship I've ever had. And sometimes I will walk in if I'm like, oh, have you seen this on Instagram? And he's having a poo. But like, there's just, it does take away some of the romance and the mystery, doesn't it?
It does. And it's hard to be sexually aroused by someone if you've still got the memory of the smell of their poo up your nose. I mean, it's not that sexy, is
No, I can't. I'll be honest. The nights I've walked in to show him something on my phone and he's been having a poo, we've not had sex. So I think that answers that question. Yeah,
there's your answer, Vicky.
Keep it separate, man. The next one I think is a really important one, especially for our generation. This lovely lady asks, how do you get over a guy and stop looking at his posts online? I know it's pointless, but I just can't stop looking. And I feel like I've been in this position before, and I don't have the answer.
Yeah. And look, I would extend this to apps and every other form of digital communication. I think if you're in a situation where you're breaking up with someone and it's painful and you're not going to continue to have a friendship, because of course some couples do transition from lovers into friends, and that's a different situation. I think it sounds like this situation is tied up with lots of pain and difficulty there. I would say go cold turkey. Take the temptation away. Stop following them. Take their number out of your phone. So there is no temptation to drunk dial them or, any of that dysfunctional behavior, because you're just going to wake up the next morning and regret it. So I would say, even if you set yourself a limit of, say, okay, for a month now, I'm going to take every aspect, every sign of this person out of my digital life, and then I'll check in again and see how I feel in a month. But I think you've got to give yourself that grace period, because the temptation will be there and you'll just regret it. Yeah.
It never ends well, does it?
No, it doesn't. No.
You always end up just making yourself feel bad. So yeah, I think that's great advice. I like a good block. Once I'm
right.
I like a good block. Something definitive.
Done.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it can be quite empowering.
Yeah. I think
this can be about taking your power back, going into self-preservation mode and saying, no, I'm not going to let this person hurt me anymore. And I'm not going to let myself hurt myself anymore by taking a peek at what's going on in their socials. Don't do it. It's self-sabotage.
It does. It becomes a form of self-harm, especially if you're trying to put yourself back together after something quite toxic. Okay. Yeah. I love that. That's great advice. Last one. Okay. I feel like this one's a little bit in depth, so brace yourself. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and my husband thinks I don't contribute. I work while the kids are in childcare, but that's not enough for him. This made me really angry when I read it. Yeah. So I would be interested to see your advice.
Interesting. And really topical, because there's a meme going around at the moment. I don't know if it's crossed your path yet, Vic, but it's about a peach. Have you heard about this?
No.
Yeah, so it's like a little cartoon, and it's the woman walks into the kitchen and she sees there's a beautiful ripe peach that's left in the fruit bowl, and she says, "Oh, great! I'll save that for the kids. They can have as a treat when from school." Yeah. And then split screen, the man walks into the kitchen and he sees the peach, and he says to himself, "Oh, great, there's a ripe peach. I'll put that in my smoothie today for a special treat for myself." Yeah. And it's brought up all of these issues, and the internet's kind of going a bit mad about this at the moment, because it's this discussion about, are women naturally sort of geared toward helping and nurturing, and are men more geared towards basically being self-focused and driving their own careers and so on? And, it has brought up this great discussion. And I guess part of that too relates to the mental load that women carry. We're not just doing our job, we're also always thinking about our families and thinking about, where is our man right now? What does he need? 2 weeks in the future, we need to plan for a party and I need to make a salad. Yeah. Or in the UK, I need to make something stodgy and heavy.
Hi.
That was a mild dig. At you there.
Honestly, it's fair.
But we carry this. we carry this heavy, much bigger mental load than often our male partners do in relationships. So when it comes to a question like this one coming from, you know, your beautiful follower there, she's probably carrying so much more than her partner sees.
Yeah.
You know, yes, she's working for those windows when her kiddos are in childcare, but she's doing so much more than that. And, you know, and sometimes our guys don't see what we're doing, and more importantly, they don't appreciate it. Yeah. So it sounds like to me, it would be really timely for her to have a really honest conversation with her partner about everything that she does bring to the table. You know, so often in a traditional role in the family, it is often, you know, the man who's doing the work outside the home and the woman doing it inside the home. And if that's the case, it's so hard to identify what you're actually doing. So maybe she could spend a week going through her own diary and just privately, before she tells him, just itemizing what she does during the day, so that she can actually go to him at the end of the week and say, hey babe, look at this. You know, I'm not trying to, you know, be arsy about this, but I want to demonstrate to you, this is what I actually do. This is how I contribute to this family every week. And it's so much more than, you know, just what you might believe it is. So that might help. Yeah. I don't know. It's tricky without having a conversation with her.
Honestly, Mel, I get so frustrated because I think to myself, like, I've got friends who I know are stay-at-home mums, and I see like how much effort they put into, like, you know, especially in the summer holidays, making sure the kids are entertained, like educationally challenged, that they're like, they're having a lovely time, that they're well fed, that they're exposed to lovely things. And then you know, if one of their husbands was to come home and sort of like scornfully insinuate they worked harder, I would be so upset. And I do think like women, like, I don't know why we have to explain ourselves, you know, like clearly if a man is going to work and earning for the household or whatever, he wouldn't be able to do that if the woman wasn't at home looking after the children so well, keeping a beautiful home, whatever. It's such a beautiful partnership. And I just feel like, oh God, why do women have to explain themselves? But in this situation, I completely get it. I think it would be beneficial. And I hope it makes him realize how good he's actually got it.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Oh, got me a little bit fired up there, Petal.
Yeah, me too, Petal.
Mate, I've had such a lovely time talking to you. I feel like
me too.
It's flown. Like, your energy is so lovely, you're so knowledgeable. Like, I'm just really grateful to you for giving me your time, especially when you're so busy.
I've loved it, Vicky. I've loved our chat.
Thank you.
Loved it.
Here at Vicky Pattison The Secret Too, before we let our gorgeous guests go, we always ask them to give our lovely listeners a little pearl of wisdom, a secret too, as it were, hence the name. Yes. And you could have had millions. You are a very interesting and brilliant woman. But I think what most people would like to know is what your secret is to confidence. You have the incredible book out. I think after this, loads of people want to buy it. But if you could do it in a nutshell, what is your secret to the famous C word? What's the secret to the C word?
The secret to the C word. Well, I would say the secret is understanding that in order to be confident, you need to be courageous first. Okay. So courage is about, you know, expanding that comfort zone a little bit, not jumping out of your comfort zone into the anxiety zone, but taking baby steps and just gradually expanding it so that you start to build up your confidence gradually. And before you know it, you'll have some runs on the board. You'll start realizing that firstly, you're worthy and that you actually deserve more, but also that you can do it because you've done it before. So for me, courage has to come before confidence.
So getting out of your comfort zone a little bit as well, Mel, you know, really challenging your boundaries.
Yes, little bits at a time. You know, I don't believe, you know, you see on Instagram, people say things like, everything you want is on the other side of fear and all that sort of stuff. I think that's BS. I don't buy that at all. You don't have to do that. You don't have to jump into fear in order to be confident. You know, I think we can do this in a way that doesn't provoke anxiety. Yes, I think there's a lot to be said for dipping your toe in, as long as you're prepared to take the lessons, to go, oh, that hurt. didn't like that. Okay, what was going on for me? To self-reflect and be self-aware and be a smart person, you know, be really smart about it. That's when confidence starts to build.
I think that's great advice, mate. And I've absolutely, as I mentioned before, loved talking to you. I'm going to let you go. I know you've probably got a busy day tomorrow and I want you to get to bed, but thank you, Mel. That's been a real pleasure.
Thank you, Vicky. I've loved it and I love your accent. Mwah.
Right back at you, poppet.